click on. It's just about to go live. And we're live. So today I am on the Shoulda Boosted podcast, which I'm enjoying thoroughly. I just want to get a couple little subs out of the way. I had 3 new subscribers since the last podcast. Chris Dancox, thank you very much for subbing to the channel. I thoroughly appreciate it, and I thoroughly appreciate everything that you guys are doing to help out and grow this channel. Matt Forsyth, thank you very much for subbing to the channel. Again, the support that everyone's been showing has been immense. It's super good. I think I'm at 53 subscribers now. I'm over halfway to my 100 sub goal of rebranding the channel URL. Keep killing it, guys. And who I'm going to be podcasting with and who I'm going to be recording with is Brian Sin.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Oh, I'm kind of looking forward to this. This should be a good topic for us.
I think this is going to be really good since I'm like the newest Merc player in the meta, I think, right now. So, but it's not really that far out from my normal play style. So
It's it's the party bus right now. There's a new Merc player every single day, I swear.
There really is. I thoroughly believe that they're in a great spot and they have so many different play styles for every single person to be able to enjoy.
And yeah, so that's totally what we're going to be talking about. Here we are with, Shoulda Boosted number 34, and we're going to be talking about whether mercenaries are OP. We've had some results lately that should be saying, yes, there's a real big fire that we need to address. And we're going to talk about that. But one of the things that we also want to do is kind of an announcement for the podcast is also that to this point, Mark and I have been the co-hosts, but we clearly needed a little bit more spice to our bland stew. So we're bringing in Ian and the community killer. And so he's now another official co-host. So Ian, I mean, you basically already were. You've been on how many already?
More than anyone else other than the hosts.
Yeah.
I think I've been, I remember counting them up before, but I was like, you know what, maybe it would, I really have a nice home here. I've been really enjoying podcasting with you guys. I mean, Mark's amazing and you're amazing, and we all have our own little flavor for the stew that is Shoulda Boosted.
Fair enough. So maybe what I'll do to set this up is I'm going to talk about how the fires are burning, and then I'm going to pass it over to you to let me get your take on it. So what the fires burning are with this whole thing is that we recently had this thing called the VTC, our last podcast. We're talking with Chris Dancox about how he did so well there, and Canada did well, didn't quite win out the finals. But when you look at the end, there's a whole lot of mercenaries, like a whole bunch of mercenaries. And when you're looking at this, where like this is, I mean, it's not the full WTC, it's kind of like a quickly put together one. But really, when you have a bunch of like the better players of the world coming together, and now you're looking at the results, and it's mercenaries, one infernal, mercenaries, that looks troublesome.
It's wild. It's so wild.
So what's your take on that, Ian?
I think it's a combination of the one, particular outliers in the competitive scene and how they counter other factions, and I believe that it's also the players themselves and the way that they have so many tools in their toolkit right now to do a little bit of everything. Not only is it playstyle dependent, but it's also meta dependent. So I think they're in a great place right now. I like what they're doing. I'm not going to spoil too much yet because we have a lot of discussion to go, but I have strong feelings about the mercenaries right now. Just to put it out there, I'm also playing mercenaries, where in the recent past I was playing Retribution before that. So it was quite the jump.
Well, and I mean, I can see why you got away from those Retribution, because I mean, you got all those Retribution Archons that you're probably really excited to use, right?
I love the Void Archon like no other. It's gone in. Well, the factions that I play typically are. I play Signar from time to time. It's just kind of a dabble. I dove into them because of Brian absolutely tabling me with Sloan. So I'm like, okay, I better build a Sloan list because that looks like a whole lot of fun. But I play Retribution with Voids and I play Convergence with Voids. So it's they're really the toolkit out of those things are so good. But I mean, we're not talking about voids here. We're talking about what the voids are in. So,
That was a little bit of a hint of the things we're going to be getting to later about why we're seeing the mercenaries doing so well. But I mean, maybe just to attack like the hot button that they're OP, they're totally overpowered. For my part, I think that's baloney and it's not true. Definitely things are leading in a bad way. But I mean, if there was some sort of like magical scale that we could pull out and it had the power rankings of all the other factions, there is no way that you can tell me that mercenaries is like way ahead in the lead. I feel that there's a lot of factions that are very, very close, and definitely mercenaries are up there, but I don't feel like they're like dominating every single thing else in the game.
because of the visibility of the VTC currently, I do believe because of that, that's where this. I mean, let's be real here. That's where this discussion point comes from. Do I believe that they are overpowered? No. Do I believe that the entire faction is too overtuned? Absolutely not. Do I believe that they have the tools to be the A plus? 100%. They have 9 different themes, and each theme is almost like a mini faction within them, and which allows you to have like 3 to 5 casters attached to it. Other than regulars, I'm going to keep irregulars out because that's a discussion completely on its own. That's pure Merc. And because of that, it allows you to combine what Mercenaries is about is having all these different tools to do what you need to do to be able to fight an Infernal's army by putting out the Archons that you need and stopping their soul collection, by playing against other mercenary factions, like having your Leylee's Resistance going into the Flames in the Darkness model, single wound model lists. They're preying on each other as well as all the other factions. So, yeah, do I think they're OP? They're up there. Like, just because of the toolkits, they're up there.
So maybe a good way, because I kind of feel like we're very much aligned on where things are and what the real problem is.
Absolutely.
So maybe the best way we can tackle this is that I'm going to jump over and I'm going to play devil's advocate, and we can go through the various things that people would point to saying that the mercenaries are overpowered, and then we can talk about how that is or is not true.
That sounds like a great way to do this.
The first one. Sorry?
That sounds like a great way to do this, because I will argue for the power level being above the curve. I'm always for that. I like talking people up.
Sure. So I'm going to jump in with this first one here, which is Fiona. And I'm going to play that devil's advocate. And I'm going to say mercenaries are overpowered because Fiona is the most overpowered and S tier rank caster in the entire game. What's your thought?
Fiona is a very good caster. Do I think she's the best caster in the game? I don't think so. Do I think she has an amazing toolbox to be able to play into many situations? I do. She plays in a couple themes. Flames in the Darkness, and she plays in Talion Charter the best, right? And irregulars, but I think she plays in those two the best. You believe that she's completely way too overtuned? Or do you think that she's just right,
I'm playing devil's advocate right now. You gotta correct me back the other way.
Oh, so you believe that she's overpowered? Is your discussion right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't believe that she's overpowered. I believe that she's an appropriate toolkit to be A plus caster. Befuddle, Chasten, Curse of Veils, Occultation, Wrath of Mercy, Soulfire. They are all excellent spells, but After feat turn, she's just any other caster. She has an amazing feat, and Befuddle is a one-trick pony. Everyone, you can play against Befuddle. There's no question about it. She can get the Befuddle wherever she wants because of the cultists, but you're not going. A good player in a competitive atmosphere is not going to allow you to Befuddle and then get countercharged. It's just not a thing.
But Ian, Befuddle is so broken. You can use it to trigger things like countercharge and Watcher.
It's going to get fixed.
It's just so OP.
It's literally going to get fixed. This is not an intended mechanic. Dark Legacy has said it. Travis Marg has said it, and they're trying to figure out a way to fix it as we speak. If somebody gets me with a 3-inch move that I don't see, I deserve to lose. It's not something I've played against Fiona a handful of times so far, and I'm not sold on it. She's not in my pairing. I don't play her, and that's because I don't think she's as good as what everybody makes her out to be. Her feat is amazing. That's about all that I'm willing to go for.
Yeah. I'll switch back to the logical side, and yeah, I mean, like, her feat is good. Don't get me wrong. Her feat has always been the same since like back in Mark II, and yeah, it's always been like she goes up, she does her feat, and then there's trouble after. Now, Befuddle is new for her, and sure, there's some like hijinks with things like countercharge, but man, I mean, like I do not think that ever really comes up, like you said, in real competitive games, right?
Yeah.
This is not something that you're going to gotcha a very experienced player. The fact that you can turn something around and like get that 3-inch extension of threat and basically the 2 swing on the defense when you're trying to hit, because now it's in the back, sure, that's great. But I mean, it's not that overbearing dominant thing that they're making it sound like.
It's not a TK. TK is amazing. I think TK is really good too. But come on. Like, I think people are just she's a really good Merc caster. I don't think she deserves the amount of hate that she's getting right now.
Mm-hmm. We'll get to some fixes later, but we have to go through the problems first. All right, here's the next devil's advocate coming your way, Ian.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, you know, every single time there's a RaiQuest update, it's always a mercenary. So now mercenaries get all these new options. So of course they're so good. Look at all the different options they have from just RaiQuest.
How many RaiQuest models do you have in your list?
Well, I have a lot of lists and I have a lot of jank, so maybe that's the right one to talk to.
in your main tournament list, the ones that your go-to list. I have my go-to list. Your go-to list. How many RaiQuest models do you use?
There's usually like one that make it in each one type thing.
Okay. I have one in my list in between my 2 lists. Just one model. Yes, some of them are very good, and then the vast majority of them are crap, in my opinion. I mean, not only that, but PPs also recognize this, and that's not going to be happening anymore because they're just giving them to certain factions. Like, Old Grim, like he's just going to be Khador, or the Bombardier is just going to be Khador. I think that these things were necessary to bump up mercenaries up to where they should be. It's not that didn't make them overpowered, it made them relevant.
I think one of the great things that I saw, this is me being rational again, is that on the forums, when people were trying to say that, oh, look at this, you know, the RaiQuest is really pushing them, Hungerford himself came on and said, like, well, look at the list from the winners of the VTC. They're not chock full of RaiQuest models.
No, they have a sprinkle
here. Sorry?
They have a sprinkle. It's like Boomy 2. Yep. You're like, cool, there's a repo and a covering fire. Here's some a tough with that you can take while knocked down. You still get knocked down on that one. You're not steady tough. You're just knocked down tough. So you're going to keep getting hit until you can't roll a 5 up. And yes, some of the RaiQuest models got through in a state that they shouldn't be, or are available in themes that they're become very, very effective. I have many people who I have abused with, and you're one of them, with Harlow with Snipe with Ostrom. That is,
Hmm.
yeah, like, but it made Hammer Strike super relevant. That model by himself helped out the list to become more relevant as ever. Uh, I don't necessarily see right like all the releases brought mercenaries to an appropriate level. It didn't make them overpowered.
All right,
Just
here comes the next devil advocate. Are you ready?
yep.
Well, now there's all these archons, and the archons are so OP, and here's mercenaries, and they have access to basically all of them. So of course they're so good.
I love this one. Archons are good. Now, what's the most amount of archons you can get into one theme? It's
4.
4, and that's in regulars, right?
Either regulars or flames.
Regulars or flames. Okay, yeah, because it's double Morrowind, double Thamrite in flames, and irregulars is almost any of them.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen a competitive other than flames. Flames is the outlier. A competitive anything other than flames for Archon list yet that I have actually enjoyed looking at. 2 Archons, absolutely, but every other faction has a theme. Some of them are better than others. Like, I'm going to look at Retribution and look at Mage Hunter Strike Force, the Shadows of Retribution. That theme's a dumpster fire, to say the best, and that's the theme that you can take 2 Voids in. However, something like Clockwork Legions, you can take 2 Voids in. Yes, they're not friendly faction, but they're still really good, and they do a lot of toolkit for them too. So I don't think it's necessarily an argument that because they're all they're all mercenaries, that it makes them all makes the faction itself overpowered.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, like, these things are still 8 points each, right? Like, it's not like we're taking these as free.
No, you're losing a lot to
options
put
or
them
something.
in. You have to be making sure that you're losing the right things to cover the gaps that they're putting in. Like, when in Clockwork Legions, when you had Scorn, what's the theme in Scorn that has all the? I'm just gonna pull it up. Where are you?
They're all just dumpster fires. It's just like a bunch of different names for like outhouses
Exalted.
and garbage.
Exalted. That's the one I'm thinking for. Exalted was an absolute mess for Clockwork Legions for a while because you had the old rules for Soul Collection, all of that sort of thing. Be like, that sucked. And then when you get Soul Wards, so your Enigma Foundries could be protected, that was really good for them. It was a +2 armor swing or a +2 damage swing for them, and they really actually needed an extra a couple damage on their single wound infantry as well as their medium bases. So no, I don't think Archons necessarily made them overpowered. I think there was a right place to put them because you can't really. I don't think that placing them in any particular faction and making them partisan whatever would be appropriate for them.
I mean, like, playing from this side where I have all the archons, this is me talking on like the logical side again. I mean, people have learned how to play against Morrowind archons. You just tilt slightly so that you don't see them, and then they don't do anything. You just take now a bunch more like elite things, and like the archers, the Thamarites aren't really doing anything. Like, really, a lot of these archons, you're not seeing a lot of them anymore, except for the voids. The voids, of course, you're seeing all over the place. But I mean, like, the 4 Archon build, you're not seeing that all over the place anymore. People have
Other
already
than
kind of moved
Flames.
past that.
Flames is the only one that you're really seeing it. Because it is quite good for certain types of tech. I mean, the Thamrite, like using mechanics as a Thamrite cloud wall, it's pretty cute. I like it. But Morrowinds are still really good. Even if you don't take in the -2 to hit, they still are shield guards. They still chain shield guard, and they still are relevant in that particular theme.
Fair. All right, ready for the next Devil's Advocate?
Is it Strange Bedfellows yet? Because I can't wait to talk about that one. But no, go ahead.
No, that one's still coming. That's like the final boss.
Oh, okay, nice.
All right, here's the next one, Ian. Well, of course, mercenaries are so overpowered. They got those super juniors. They have Gatsby 4 and they have Nemo 4. They're just way too good for their points, and they get to take them, of course, like everything else.
Where else are you going to put them? That's my question to you. You tell me where you're supposed to put them.
You're not supposed to ask that. I'm gonna be irrational. I'll just be like, oh, in the garbage. They never should have been made.
I have an issue with that question because I do run both of them in the same theme. So I think that personally, I do believe that there should have been like an irregular rule for them where they can be placed in certain themes, or they make sense being where they are. The Super Juniors are, I'm going to say it. I am going to say it. They are way too powerful for the curve, I think. I think they could probably use a point increase, especially Gatsby. That point tax that they get put on them, they are exceedingly good. Whether or not they should have been put in mercenaries, that's completely separate. I think that they should have been placed in particular factions with the new rule, like or an existing rule, like regulars, Crix, irregulars, convergence, irregulars, Signar, and have them put into the theme sets. The themes should have been amended to include them specifically. I don't think that they should have been mercenaries.
Well, I think another thing too is that I don't think they're even both being seen as equal right now. Like Nemo 4 is definitely really good, but I mean, a big, huge battle engine that gets a couple of shots in a world full of shield guards isn't always the best thing. Like clearly he does a lot of other things, but between the two of them, it's Gatsby 4 that's really dominant in the meta.
He's the first things that you check when building right now, like the first things that I check when I'm building something is I check, do voids fit in this? Yes, they do. Perfect. Does Gatsby fit in this? Perfect. Am I putting a Helldiver in, or am I putting a Stalker in? Okay. Oh, I can actually put a Toro in with it. Neat. So yeah, Gatsby's the outlier. Like he's borderline full Warcaster for 14 points. He should not have been in a mercenary for both storyline as well, like just lore wise, which I mean, sorry guys, I know I'm putting lore into this. He should have been Crix, he should have been Convergence, and sat him there. I don't even think he should have been Crix personally, but that's I won't take that away from Crix. I'm not taking it away from Crix ever. My entire channel will get burnt down by Crix players.
Well, the good news, the next two Devil's Advocates are going to be about themes, which is why they're over here. So next Devil's Advocate is going to be all about flames in the darkness. You know, here comes this overpowered theme, and wouldn't you know it, mercenaries get access to it. So now they get all these amazing things, like, you know, all the Archons and all the Legion of Lost Souls. Great, isn't it? One more thing for mercenaries to be amazing at.
Well, Flames is really good. It has probably one of the newest, most diverse lists out there in terms of availability for new models. Battle Priest, taking old models like Precursor Knights and making them relevant. Legion of Lost Souls are super cool models. I love the look of them. Thamrite Archons and the Morrowind Archon. And they made this really hard-hitting single wound infantry theme that, I mean, yeah, you can look at the Signar partisan medium bases, whatever those things are called. I haven't seen them on the table ever yet, so it's not really something that I would consider too far. And they made an anti-shooting theme because of the amount of shield guards that they can put in there, and it hits real hard. And whenever I think Flames of the Darkness, I always think Constance is the default, personally. But I know I'm not always going to be right on that when Legion of Lost Souls exists and Striker 2 exists. And I don't think it's overpowered. I think that was the first theme. Talion Charter did good for the faction when it was released, or the update to Talion Charter did a lot of good things for the faction. I think Flames of the Darkness was what was like, okay, now we have to watch out for Merc players. Merc players are now relevant because of Fiona being with the feet on a typical Flames army, or Striker 2 with the Flames army, or Constance with the Flames army. It brought them to relevancy. Flames was by far one of the best inclusions that PP has put into them. And before that, I mean, not everybody can just sit there and be like, I'm gonna run Mag 2 into you and try and lock you down, and then get my caster shot off the table repeatedly, or Osram running a bunch of lights and heavies at you, trying to jam you out of zone. Like, what was it before that point? Oh, Cephalix? Be like, it'd be a shame if somebody brought an complete anti-infantry list and you're stuck with your other Cephalix list.
I guess talking on the logical side, yeah, like that was the big thing is you saw a whole bunch of anti-infantry going all over the place. And then of course the big thing was Infernals coming out, just Infernal Sloan destroying everyone.
Ugh.
And then here comes Flames. And now all of a sudden you have something that can shut down these shooting things and can fight back. But I mean, the big thing there too is like you were saying, it's not just a mercenary theme. This was available to a lot of other people. And I don't think that it's necessarily the best in mercenaries either.
I would argue it's tied for the best. Irregulars is a different beast. Like I said, I think that's a different discussion because that is everything coming together. But Flames, I think, is tied for best in faction.
I'm talking about is Flames Mercenaries head and shoulders above Flame Signar.
I don't know if it's because of a special spot in my heart for Constance and that list, because I think that's the best version of Flames, and is that Mercenaries or is that Signar?
Well, that's both, so I mean that doesn't really change anything.
Yeah, so I think I'm sitting on the fence about that, but I mean, you look at Fiona Flames. Is Fiona Flames the best version of Flames?
Striker 1 and Striker 2 Flames, pretty good as well.
Striker 2 Flames with, okay, so if we're talking Striker 2 Flames with Legion of Lost Souls, very good. Is it better than Fiona Flames?
I think it's as good.
You think it's as good?
I think so, yeah.
All right, well, I'm on the fence about it. I think Constance Flames is still the best, and I consider Constance Mercenary any day of the week. I know she walks both lines, but I know it's me sitting there in the middle just kind of towing the zone, so to speak.
I think the main thing, though, is that neither of us are saying that it's head and shoulders the best in Mercenaries.
It's not even one of the best themes in the game. Like, it's not unbeatable. There's definite plays against it, especially now. The more that is coming out, the more that those single wound themes, single wound infantry themes are just getting, I'm not going to say dumpstered, but are getting hurt really, really bad. So that's a discussion post this.
So talking about the best theme in the game, ready for the final boss of Devil's Advocates?
Oh my god, this is my specialty right here. I will tell you know what, you play Devil's Advocate, or I'm playing Devil's Advocate. Strange Bedfellows is the best theme in Mercenaries, bar none. Like, there is nothing better than it.
It is nuts. I know I'm sitting on the other side.
You're not even gonna try.
It is a wild, crazy. It definitely is Strange Bedfellows, but it is so strong. And I know, again, like the Devil's Advocate, like for me defending it rather, is more so saying like, okay, it's not just mercenaries. You could be taking this in Crix, and you could be taking this or in Convergence. So it's not really just a mercenaries theme, but it is so strong. And if you're not used to seeing what Aurora 2 controlling and giving extra focus can Gatsby 4 can do, wow, you better get ready because it's going to kill a colossal and a half.
Oh yeah, like I don't subscribe to the Aurora 2 at all. Like, not even a little bit. I mean, we're not going to get into this, but spoiler, I don't like Aurora 2 at all. It's all Aurora 1. And we're not even going to discuss Morn Nabra because she's garbage. Sure, she's playable, but she's not going to make it to top tables playable unless you have dice and matchups and everything on your side. This is Aurora's theme, and Aurora is a convergence caster. And I'm gonna go into this discussion just headlong. This should have been a Crix and convergence theme. This should not have touched mercenaries, despite the fact that it is. I understand the lore logic behind it of Aurora splitting off and creating her own little her own little kingdom or whatever you guys want to call it. But this should not have been a mercenary. It should have been Flames being the best theme in their faction and offering everybody a competitive, an extra competitive option. Strange Bedfellows is it's so fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry for the swear, but this is it's so dumb.
So here's the thing, though. Like when you're looking at the VTC data, obviously there's lots of mercenaries, but there's also lots of Fiona. It's not like it's dominated just by this theme. Like you and I both agree that this is a crazy powerful theme, but it's also not taking over the world by storm. It's
I'm 40 games deep with her. I'm 40 games deep with Strange Bedfellows easily. And it's bonkers. And Fiona's really good, but Strange Bedfellows also has a lot of people preying on it. There's a lot of different matchups that it doesn't want to see. Fiona is a toolkit caster and can play, and depending on the build, can play into so much, just because of how generalist she is. Where Strange Bedfellows doesn't have necessarily the same staying power.
So I think this is all of our big arguments all together. We might get to the point now where we can actually talk about what caused this, and then that'll lead to how they should fix it. Ian, did you want to give your take on that first, or do you want me to give you what my theory is?
I want to hear your theory first.
So here's my theory. And the theory is that Privateer Press wants to make money. Crazy, I know. But the way that they want to do this is they want to be making things that are multi-faction, because if I release one thing for trolls, only troll players are buying this. If I make this as a cross-faction theme, then both those groups of people are buying it. And oh boy, if I make it over 3 themes, that's just tripling the money that's going to be coming in. So when all of a sudden I have things like, hey, I want all these people to be buying these RideQuest models. And so there'll be mercenaries so that a lot of people can get access to them and they can buy them. I'm going to make these Archons, and I'm going to make them available to all the factions so that everybody can buy these beautiful angels. I'm going to make these super powerful juniors, and I'm going to make them work for 3 different factions. And then I'm going to be making these other themes like Flames and Strange Bedfellows, so that not only can all these people use them, but now they can be using each other's stuff, and they're going to be tempted to be buying into a new faction. This is genius. And in trying to do that and trying to chase the dollar, they've basically done that in a way that makes really just mercenaries the holder of everything. And at the end of the day, it's not really so much that mercenaries are overpowered, they just have all the options. So we started this off by saying that mercenaries were in the top there, but not head and shoulders like the grand leader on top of the mountain. And that's really just probably because they have options to everything that's good.
Yeah, that's actually I agree with all points. They have a play style. At the very beginning, I said they had a play style for everybody, and they can be new player friendly because you can start with your Brawl Machine armies and play in all the different themes. It gives you your all the different meta style choices. It's a really good faction, and I think that it's not overpowered. I think it's knee-jerk to think that they need to be toned back or they need to be reeled back. I think it's just they're in an appropriate place, and because they had such a prevalence in the current tournament scene, that people are like, boom, oh, they're way too good. Like everybody thought Infernals were going to be the king of the corpse for the longest time, and I didn't see it then. They're really good. They're not the best faction out there. They were just new, and they were murdering people. And Mercenaries is really good, and they're murdering people. And whoever the next CID, which is going to be Trolls, they're going to be really good, and they're going to be very meta relevant when they come out. I think the whole hate on Mercenaries is completely unjust, and I think they are appropriate for where they should be in any meta.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem here is that it's leading to knee-jerk reactions. I mean, the big
100%.
things that people are talking about now is we got to nerf Fiona, and we have to maybe just get rid of irregulars as a theme, and that's not going to do anything. That's not getting to what the root cause is of the problem.
No, I don't think that there's little. Okay, so there are little tiny tunes that need to happen. And not only that, I'm going to touch on one. I'm going to reel back for a second and talk about the multi-faction models.
Hmm?
Yes, PP is a company. They need to make money. They need to be relevant, make nice models that we all want to play, and we want our models that we buy to be good. We don't want to buy, um, we don't want to buy a Mechanothrall. We don't want to buy a solo that's going to act like a Mechanothrall by itself. We want to have a good quality model that is balanced appropriately and is going to be meta relevant for the long term. They want to future proof so they can be relevant in multiple builds and multiple armies and do the right thing and make money so we have a game to play tomorrow. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I don't think wanting to grow your company is a bad thing. And if somebody says, "Oh, it's overbalanced or it's overtuned," to be like, let's see what the next year is going to be. I've been playing war games for 27 years now, and I've played literally dozens of tabletop games. Some of them way higher competition than most people will ever see. And I don't think that I think there's always a cycle of haves and have-nots, and it's a matter if we're talking in the highest competitive tier. Yes, some things will slip by, and they shouldn't be where they should. I don't think Gatsby is super broken. He's very killable. I don't think Nemo is super broken. I think he's able to be played against, especially in our current meta with the amount of shield guards that we have. And having them multi-faction makes people have nice things. We want nice things, right? You want nice things?
Well, of course, I got a whole shelf of them behind me.
Exactly. I mean, and there's only a handful, I'm sure, and maybe you've been playing this game longer than I have. Warmachine specifically. I just hit my third year playing last weekend. So, yeah, no, I want nice things and I want nice toys designed by a good, well-balanced company. And out of all the companies I've played, Warmachine Hordes is definitely the most balanced game that I've played yet, despite the small amounts of the knee-jerk reactions that people are like, oh, it's super broken. Be like, just learn to play against it. That's honestly is always been my opinion, that it's very rare that you can't play out a list. Yes, there are the 1% or 2% of games that you get a matchup that you just get dumpstered and there's nothing you can do about it.
And I think, like, if people who have been in the game for quite a while, if they think back to the things that really were dominant and overpowered, if you think back to things like Bradigus back when you could triple port, or if you think back to things like Haley 2 before all the nerfs, or all these ones were just crazy, insane, powerful, and just super, super dominant, we're nowhere close to that. Where it's like, yeah, you just win. There's nothing I can do. It's like, well, no, there's a lot of game from either side. And I think the biggest thing, though, is I think that Privateer Press has already learned their lesson. You look at the next wave of the RightQuest models, and they now no longer aren't all mercenaries. They're now working for actual factions.
It's a perfect
And I think
fix.
if
That
they were
was
to
a
do these
great
things,
fix.
go ahead.
Oh, that was a great fix that they did. I think that they saw what they did and they're correcting the boat. Little pirate joke, I guess. I think they're correcting the boat with that one. I think they realize that they're like, oh, mercenaries might be getting a little bit too much love, and they're just kind of spinning the wheel over a little bit more. Sorry if I knocked my microphone and you guys had to hear all that. I think that they're doing a good job on that balancing act, and they did give mercenaries a lot of love with the next wave as well.
And I think, like, if they were to redo things again, like Aurora 2 would not be a mercenary. She would be a convergence who is maybe, I don't think she'd even be partisan anything. She would just be convergence. And then when you go into that faction for the whatever that Strange Bedfellows one, that would be one that, sure, yeah, it would be for Crix and it can be for convergence, and that's it. I mean, this whole old like bucket where, like, if you want to share things, it has to be mercenaries. I don't think they're going to be doing that going forward. So I think that right now you're going to see mercenaries where they have the big bucket of toys, but going forward, they're not going to be doing that. And
Not
so I
anymore.
think we're going to really see things balance out even more.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that they realize that they're like, Mercenaries got enough love in the last year and a half. It's honestly, it like in the last year and a half, it's the most attention to a single
So I guess
faction has
looking at
anybody got.
fixes now, you already,
Sorry, go ahead.
oh, sorry, I think I might have lost you for a little bit there.
Oh, I was just saying that I think Mercenaries got the most love in the last year and a half. Like, I've played for 3 years, and over half of the time playing, they've gotten the most love out of any faction that I've seen yet. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's a wide faction. I think a lot of people play it too.
Now, in looking at fixes, do you think that it's just fine to go forward and say like, okay, we'll make things better, or do you think they need to go back and just say like, okay, strange bedfellows, no longer is it going to be mercenaries? This, that, no longer going to be mercenaries. Do you think that they should go back and fix these things?
No, I think that where they are now, I think they could just leave it and let it run. This has been, it's been less than 6 months. When you start looking at design of a game and how people have been purchasing and setting up their lists, I think it would be a disservice to the community to go back and change a fundamental of the models that they purchased. I think that going forward, they just need to be more aware of the mercenary issue, and it's not an issue. The mercenary love that they've given.
Hmm. Like, I think the best thing for the game would be to go back and be like, you know what, strange bedfellows no longer going to be a mercenary. The super juniors, both of them, no longer going to be
You
mercenaries.
really
They
believe
still
that
have
they
other
should do
great
that?
things. Sorry.
You really believe that you think they should do that?
So here's the two things. I said the best thing for the game. So
Oh,
for a competitive game, I think that'd be the best thing to do. But I believe as a business, that would be a bad idea to do because then you'd have all these invalidated purchases, right? Where all of a sudden, all the Merc players that could buy gas before, well, now it's like, what are you going to do with it? It's garbage. You could say that if you had a Strange Bedfellows list, congratulations, you now own a new faction, but it's really going to make a lot more hardship than actually helping. So I think they're kind of stuck.
yeah, and the fundamental design of those particular models being able to take taking mercenary warjacks in certain mercenary units, it would not be a good thing to do. I don't even think that I think they should leave it as is. Personally, I don't even think they should turn back the clock on them. I think they should leave them because they are appropriate for the faction. Um, Not necessarily by lore, but by design. It brought the faction up. I'm okay with. I want all factions to be relevant. Looking to you trolls, you guys are gonna be super relevant in like 3 months. I already got two games against Azazello, or one game against Azazello and one against Gunbjorn too. It's gonna be amazing. I can't wait to see what happens with them. Sorry for the side note.
Oh, no, go ahead.
But no, I want them to be relevant. I want all factions to be relevant. One of the greatest things about this game is the fact that the balance is so in place that if you look at factions as a whole, I don't think there's more of depending on the time of day and the last event that went through. I don't think that there's more of a power spread than 5%. 5% power level spread between the quote unquote best faction and quote unquote the worst faction. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. And I play Convergence. I'm pretty close. I'm pretty sure that that's close to the bottom of the 5%.
So here's another idea I had. I was wanting to get your take on this. For these big, crazy, multi-faction themes like Flames and like Strange Bedfellows, what if you think instead, when they rolled them out, if there's this basically, this is almost like its own separate faction. So if you want to, instead of playing Kador or instead of playing Mercenaries, you would just play Flames. And both of your lists would have to use the Flames theme, but then they could be grabbing any of those casters that are allowed. Same things for Strange Bedfellows. You would not be playing Mercenaries. You'd not be playing Convergence. You would be having to be playing Strange Bedfellows, and both your lists would have to be that theme. Do you think that might have been the right way to go?
With Flames, it would be much more appropriate because it spans across multiple factions. Strange Bedfellows, not so much. Mainly because the theme inherently does not have as broad a toolbox as, say, Flames. And it also, and by that I mean it only has 4 casters, and the build archetypes does not allow for to be able to cover as many matchups as what say Flames would be able to do. Flames, that one is a different beast altogether. That one actually you could do in that way, but I think that would be getting into a slippery slope of how factions are separated, because they already are blurring the lines heavily, and I think that it would be really doing a disservice to the lore to add that, because I'm sure they still want to write lore for this, and when they just put in the Flames theme and be like, yeah, anybody that works for Flames, you're not part of a country, or you're not part of a this or that or the other human or whatever territorial lines. So I like them to keep that. I like them to keep the lore alive as well, based on themes.
Well, isn't that really what Flames is, though? It's like, I don't care where you're from. If you're going to be Morrowind or following Thagmar, great. We're off to fight some demons.
Yes, but if you're only locked into that Morrowind theme, then there better be a Morrowind faction. And I don't think Flames is enough to give a faction tag.
It's getting close.
It is.
I think it could be almost there. I think they have as many options as Infernals does.
Okay, let's not compare it to Infernals. Infernals is an absolutely, again, another beast of its own, and it can actually pull that off because of they span 5 factions.
I don't know.
I think there's four different factions for their, it's not Dark Legacy. What's the other one?
Yeah, the other one where they almost let you use every single caster. That one.
Not every single. It's very specific ones. It's just
no. At the beginning of the testing, you could take any caster you wanted in CID.
Well, I didn't even remember that. Now you're
Infernal Butcher 3 was going to be crazy.
I tried to forget about that. Hearts of Darkness.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one was. Let's look up that theme. Where are you? There you are. Other factions. CG, Signar, Menoth, Khador, Mercenary, and Krix. So it was 2, 3, 4, 6. It was 6. So, and how many factions is Flames? 3?
I believe so.
Khador, Signar, and Mercenaries. So that's, I think, again, that one's a different beast because of the diversity. I don't think Flames, you could build into you could build multiple dynamic lists to be able to cover tactically on the tabletop, where Infernals is, again, Infernals is Infernals. We could do a podcast about the diversity of Infernals on its own.
Yeah, it's just, I almost would want to try and find a better fix like this, because again, the way that people are talking is that we're going to just nerf Fiona, or we're going to go and just take away irregulars, and I mean, that's just is not the answer here.
Why do anything? Why do anything? Why do anything to them? Mercenaries are in an appropriate place. They are meta relevant. They have great options. They have great play styles. Why do we need to do anything? The only thing that they need to do is change the rules interactions of Befuddle, and then everybody stops complaining. And even that, they don't even have to change Befuddle. People get a brain. Like, I'm looking at my camera right now. I'm looking at you, the one complaining about Befuddle. They're gonna fix it. Just stop it.
But even then, they're gonna stop complaining because they're like, haha, they fixed Befuddle, and then they're gonna play another game as Fiona, and we're like, oh wait, that was never the problem.
No, it wasn't. People just didn't realize that Fiona was a really good caster, and then was like, oh, I'm not losing.
No. Here's the thing. What the problem was with Fiona is that Fiona has done almost the same thing for a very long time. However, the big thing is that she gained infinity arc nodes. She used to have a spell that she would cast it on a unit, and then that unit would be an arc node. And now all of a sudden in this version, she can just, okay, the cultist, instead of just giving her a free upkeep, give her a free upkeep and free arc node. Plus, she can just arc node through any other infantry as well. I mean, it's almost like all these other casters would like, they'd be amazing if they had an arc node. Well, that's what they did with Fiona, but pushing it to 11. You
Yeah,
know,
but
like,
let's be real
speaking from
here.
the inside, that's where you fix Fiona, is with that infinity arc node thing.
How can okay, so everyone's complaining that they can't kill a unit of single wound infantry? Get better. I'm
Well, it's
looking.
not even the unit. Like, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people take like a unit of mechanics and be like, okay, those are my cultists. But who even cares? If they die, you can run up one of, Gaspy's little kill bots. You can run up an Archon and be like, sure, it could take D3 damage. The fact that you can arc through anything is huge.
It's a great little mechanic for them. I don't think that that's broken. I think that that's
I don't think it's broken either, but I believe that's a bigger deal than the befuddle thing.
yeah, I don't I people are naturally they want to have toys better than other people. I think Fiona is just I think she's appropriate for the meta, and she just has a great toolbox. I don't think there's anything broken about her other than her feet being bonkers. She has like the dark rituals thing.
It's always been that. That's always been her feet.
It's just a 3.5. Like, if anybody looks at, like, if generally dice math, it's a skew of 3.5 for defense and armor. That's real good. But the ability to cast out spells from infinity away, fine. Remove enemy upkeep spells on my unit. I'm gonna recast them. Curse of Veils, that one's really good. Willing to give credit on that, but it's not an offensive spell that's going to end the game. Occultation, whatever. Wrath's Mercy, it's going to be on all game at the beginning anyways. Soulfire, how many times have you assassinated somebody with Soulfire?
I've tried. I haven't done it yet. I usually just use it to kill off key solos and stuff.
So realistically, the main spell, the main two spells, not like it's going to be Befuddle or Curse of Veil, or Curse of Veils. You're going to upkeep Curse of Veils on the target, and then you're going to cast it again. Cool. Befuddle is the only one that people are going to be infinitely arcing.
So here's the thing, though, that I think we do feel differently on, is that even as a mercenary player, I feel bloated. I feel like there's too much here. Like, I look over at my Signar, and there's a lot of choices there. It's a faction that's been there since the beginning. Of course, they have a lot of options. But then I look over at my mercenaries, and there's so many there that I kind of feel like something should be moved away.
There are 17 casters, 19 casters, 22 casters. Comparable to other factions? I would say so. I mean, other than the limited factions, there's 22 casters. It's probably more than most factions have. However, if you look at the themes, they're all mini factions. You're not taking Cognifex, you're not taking Siphon or Thexus in the regulars. You're not taking Gordon or Madhammer. I mean, let's be real here. Most people aren't taking Gordon and Madhammer. They're not relevant models in competitive scenes. And let's be real here. Our audience is we're talking about the competitive people who are going to steamrollers consistently and seeing what's relevant at the time.
But wasn't that the root cause of the problem? We said they had too many options, and so if we pulled something away, well, let's say if, like, okay, the separate faction is going to have two themes. It's going to be the Flames, and it's going to be the Strange Bedfellows. They're like the new Crusade faction that's off to go fight the Infernals. You now either play that, or you could be playing Mercenaries or whatever. This is now separate. I'd feel that like that would be right. And that all those choices that I'm getting right now from those factions, I should not have those choices when I'm playing mercenaries. Like, you were talking about casters, but if you talk about just like model choices between solos and units, it is insane in mercenaries how many options we have.
Yeah, I mean, the options are amazing, and that's the one of the allures to playing mercenaries is that you have the options. I don't think it should be looked at in a negative way. The options are good. If I go to a sandwich place, I want to be able to make whatever sandwich I want. I don't want to be like, here's your ham sandwich or here's an egg salad sandwich. I want the I'm on stream. I'm showing everybody the amount of jacks that we have in front of us and the amount of battle engines. I mean, all 2 battle engines, all
Mm.
of the units available to us, and it's literally like the solo covers my screen from top to bottom. Oh, I'd probably 2 screens, and then the minions on top of that. That's that's why you play mercenaries, and then it gets compartmentalized into the 9 different themes. It's not, you don't take a Cephalix Dominator and an irregulars list. It is
I wish I could.
it is already naturally, PP has already done their job at segregating these lists out and making sure that everything's appropriate within mercenaries. I don't believe that it should be any, it should be split off and then mercenaries lose something because they're relevant now. Let's leave them as they are. Let's leave them and having their I'm not even going to say time in the sun. They're just, I don't think that it's going to be it's their time in the sun. I just think that they're here and they need to stay here. They need to stay at this level. I think all factions they should be striving to keep all factions at this level.
I guess it's probably also fair to say that, I mean, like right now, recently, there was a lot of toys that they released out. And because of COVID, it's not like people got to really play with them all. And so now, if you have all these top level players saying, like, hey, there's all these new toys, like we didn't even talk about Melvin and Mayhem. Well, guess who has access to all the new fun toys? It's Mercenaries. So it could be one of these things where once things open up and people are playing tournaments, things will even out. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we could go back and forth on this. We're getting close to an hour, but I think we're both in agreement that mercenaries are not head and shoulders overpowered, dominating the meta. But the real problem is that currently they have options for everything, and that's why they're being taken, because all the good stuff you can go to mercenaries and find. Would you
Oh,
agree?
I absolutely agree. I think mercenary players, I don't think anybody as a mercenary player should complain, and I don't think anybody that's playing other factions should complain about mercenaries. Every faction has toolkits for the most part. I'm not going to say all of them do, but I think everyone should be sitting at this same level of being able to play a diverse series of lists. And if you're a fun casual player, you can do whatever you don't want with mercenaries. And if you're a highly competitive top tier player playing at the top tables of VTC, you should be able to play that with a good diverse toolkit to do what you want. You have a goal. Privateer Press has met their goal with mercenaries. I think they just need to maintain.
Perfect. Well, I guess in closing, let's make sure people know where to find our stuff. So for those on my side who are listening to this podcast, Community Killer, where can they find all your stuff?
They can find me on YouTube. I am posting regularly with streams. I am posting regular. I will be doing more work on the more streams. I believe I have 2 more streams next week, both battle reports. I haven't. I'm not going to be saying who I'm playing or what I'm playing against yet, but I will probably be playing a different faction next week to try and get more people a little more interested, so I can hit those other faction forums and be like, "Hey guys, I'm a thing." And I don't have the main thing that I need right now is I can't tell you that I'm youtube.com/the community killer because I don't have 100 subs yet. When I hit 100 subs, I'll be able to do that. So if you don't mind, check the Warmachine general boards, check the mercenary boards, check the minion boards. I do have posts up in all of them. Click the link that you find this on, or you see my big poster, and please hit subscribe, and then I'll be able to tell you as soon as I can. It's youtube.com/the community killer. Otherwise, I am on Facebook at facebook.com/the community killer because they don't chastise you and make you have a minimum requirement. I'm also on Shoulda Boosted. Now I'm a official co-host, and I'm going to be able to join them regularly, and they're on Muse on Minis, I believe.
Yeah, you bet.
So
Yeah, you can find. Or do you have anything else?
no, that's everything. I thank you very much for the discussion on this.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, good to have you here now as an official co-host. I was going to say as well, if you want to find garbage content, you could go to the Mr. Malorian page. Just don't do that. It's in places. If you search for Malorian, it'll say, "Do you want Mandalorian?" Just say yes. I'd rather have Mandalorian.
The the Mandalorian rule. I'm still laughing. I'm still enjoying that.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching and or listening. And otherwise, I guess we're going to be catching you next time.
Watching
Bye.
and listening from now on.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good one, guys.